Hi, in this tutorial we're going to go ahead and go over Adobe Illustrator Classroom Notebook Chapter 13, which is working all with symbols and Creative Cloud libraries in order to create a really funky t-shirt. So let's go ahead and do a file open. Open up your start file. You're probably going to find out that you need a font. So go ahead and say yes, activate the fonts. Make sure you're connected to the internet so you can do that. And it usually takes a minute or so. So what we're going to do in this one is create a number of items which are preloaded into Illustrator without you having to be an incredibly amazing artist, because we all know I am not. So as said, it is activated. Go ahead and close that. It should go ahead and close this here in a second. But it might take a minute or so, which is always fun. So let's go ahead and go to our start file here in a second. I might push pause. Alright, I'm going to push pause and pick this back up here as soon as it has activated. Alright, let's go ahead and pick back up now that I've got my font activated. Let's go into your start file. You get the black t-shirt. Let's do a file, save as, and save it wherever you need to. Go ahead and make sure it is L13, less than 13. Let's call it t-shirt, and save. So you'll see that I've got two artboards in this collection. One that's got some music notes, which we're going to turn into library items, and our t-shirt itself that we're going to play with. So let's go ahead and be on our t-shirt artboard. Let's go to View, Fit Artboard in Window, so we can kind of see the whole thing. And let's go ahead and take a look at our Micrographic Styles is open from before. Let's grab our layers, and you can kind of see you've got two different options here. We are going to go ahead and make sure that our content layer is what we're selecting and what we're working on. So when we add symbols to that document, we want to make sure that they go onto that layer and become part of that individual item. I'm going to go ahead and close that for now. I'm going to go to Window, and I'm going to come down to Symbols. And that's going to open up my symbol library, which is already built in. Now I've got a few things selected here. I can take that, and it will edit that daisy. I don't really want to do that. I can just take this, drag it over. Now I've got a daisy. Isn't that cute? You don't really want a daisy for this one. So Control Z to undo. Let's go ahead and go to our library and look at all the different types of symbols that are already built into your Adobe Illustrator files. For this one, we want to go ahead and come down to Tiki, because apparently that's where you hide guitars. And we're going to hit the little guitar right here. And just by clicking on it, you'll notice that it adds it to that symbol library. So let's go ahead and take a peek at another one. Let's see what's in Sushi. Sushi's got all kinds of cute little sushi dudes. So depends on what you want to look at. For today and right now, all you need is the guitar. So what we're going to do is grab that guitar from the symbol library with our selection tool and drag it over into our t-shirt. And I want to actually have two of them, so I'm just going to grab it and drag it 2 times. So they're okay. They're not awesome. I want to make sure that they're a little bit different, so I want to make one smaller so I can change the size of it. Now notice I'm changing the proportion and I'm totally making it weird, so I don't want that. So I want to do a shift drag so I maintain my proportion and make one of those guitars just a little bit smaller. So we can't edit individual symbols here. We need to play and change it a little bit differently. So I want to flip this guy over a little bit so he's kind of reflected. I'm going to come over to my Properties panel, and I want Flip Along Horizontal Axis. So it's going to flip that guy over for me, which is pretty cool. So now we want to edit those symbols. So we're going to double click the guitar symbol over in here, and it's going to open up the isolation mode. It's going to tell us, I might tell you that you're editing a symbol. So we want to go ahead and change, I'm going to do a Control plus and zoom in. We want to change this blue to something else. So I'm going to grab my direct selection tool. I'm going to click on the blue body part so I get that path. And in my fill, instead of blue, let's go ahead and choose Well, you can choose a brown, you can choose pink. I don't care, whatever color you like. I'm going to choose pink today because pink sounds fun. And we're going to double click away. We can escape and get out of the symbol. And so now you see that both of my guitars, because they're coming from the same symbol library, it's kind of like having that master and child. It's bringing that one down. So let's go ahead and do our view, fit artboard on window. And you see that we now have our cute little guitars. Make them whatever color you like. Alright, so what else can we do? We can work with what's called the dynamic symbol, which means we can change the appearance of certain instances without editing the original symbol itself. So with our symbols panel, we want to come down here to symbol options. Looks kind of like a checklist. And we want to make sure that dynamic symbol is checked, which means we can change individual elements of them. So let's say OK. Let's go ahead and do a Control plus, zoom in a little bit. Let's grab our direct selection tool, which we're still on, and instead of this part of the guitar here, let's change this one. We can select just that part, and let's change our fill. I'm going to make it really obnoxious and make it yellow. You can make it brown, you can make it normal, but notice how you only changed the one instance of that guitar instead of both of them. So by making it a dynamic, we could play with individual elements. So what happens when you want to make your own symbols? So we have these music notes on the original, and we're going to actually create those as some symbols. So let's go to our t-shirt. Let's go ahead and switch our artboard, and let's grab these music notes. So we want to go ahead and select this note number 1, and we want to create a new symbol. So with our symbols library, we come down here to the bottom to the post-it note and say new symbol, and we're going to call it note 1. And we want to make sure that dynamic symbol is selected and that we say OK. So now you'll notice you have that new note 1 over here in your library. So let's go ahead and switch back to our other artboard, and I can take that symbol and drag it on to my shirt. I can also do an Alt click and copy it that way. So make a few of those symbols as you go along. And then I'm going to deselect, click out of my artboard. Let's do a Control S and save what I've got so far. So now let's go ahead and switch back to this other artboard. So let's switch to number 2. Now let's go view artboard window. Alright, so now let's go ahead and select this set of 8th notes right here. So I'm going to grab it, and instead of hitting the new symbol, I can drag it up into my symbol library. We're going to call it note 2, and OK. And notice how now it's automatically a element that I can use over and over again as well, which is pretty cool. Let's go back to our other artboard, go back to our t-shirt, and bring some of those other notes onto our shirt. Let's do a Control S and save what we've got so far. So now, what if we want to change and play with some of these things? We want to replace some of these symbols with another symbol. So let's grab one of these note 2s, and we can go ahead on the symbols panel right over here, and we can replace those symbols. So I just can go ahead and click on make that a music note instead. No, I can't. I'm missing the replace symbol. Oh, here. It moved. We want replace symbol over here on the properties, and you can choose a different symbol instead. So you can easily use different elements from your library to play and move those within each other. Alright, that was fun. Now, the gray is kind of boring. I might want to go ahead and change this up a little bit. So I'm going to double click it, and alright, we'll do this one. I'll do a Control plus, zoom in. Right now my fill is gray. I'm going to go ahead and choose something obnoxious like orange. I can hit escape to close my swatch, escape to get out of there, and you'll notice now that every single instance of that note has been changed because it is part of that symbol library, which is a pretty awesome way to change everything all at once. So let's go ahead and deselect, Control minus, zoom out, Control S to save. So what if we want to change one of these without changing everything in the library? We can actually break those links. So with our selection tool, let's zoom in on our guitar here. We're going to grab our selection tool, and we want to go ahead and in the properties panel click the break link, which is right over here, which means I want you now to treat this as an independent element instead of part of that symbol. So I want to go ahead and play with this a little bit. I'm going to grab my direct selection tool. I want to grab just one of these little bubbles, the adjustments, hit Alt and drag and give it a third one. Now because I broke the link, my symbol in my library does not change, but my symbol here remains the same. So you do have the ability to customize. All right, do a Control save, and let's do a Control minus, and we can go ahead and play with what's called a Creative Cloud library. A library allows you to have a certain set of assets that you can access all the time. So maybe you work for a company and you've got logos or certain elements you're using over and over again in a publication. The library makes it a lot easier for you to be organized and find things really quickly. Alright, so let's do a file, open. And we want this one called sample.ai. Alright, and yes, activate my fonts. So that might take a second. After this activates, we're going to go ahead and see some elements that we have in our library. I'm saying close. We're going to mess with it later. You can wait. I'm not going to. And do a Control. Alright, so it's affecting right now the words on my word guitar. So I would have to go through and fix those, activate the font. Or I can just go right now with my type tool, double click it, and let's change it. We know it's missing because it's got the little star. So let's go ahead and just change it with something we already have. So now I'm not missing that font. Alright, let's go to Window and come down here to Libraries. And you'll see right now my library is empty. So cancel. Or no, my library's not. It's got a couple different items things that you can play with, things left over from when I was playing with this before. So you can add different elements to this library. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my text. I'm going to style this rock on a little bit differently, just so I can see something a little different. So I'm going to go ahead with my selection tool, grab this, and I can do the add content. So we have to add this little plus here at the bottom, and we're going to do add content, and we want to make sure everything except graphic is selected. So we have it as, oh, nope, they changed it. We want to add it so it is text. Okay, so now it's in our text. So now we've got that element that we can go ahead and play with. Let's go ahead and grab our guitar pick and drag across so you get both parts, if you didn't get both parts already. And let's grab our plus sign here, and we want to save it as a piece of art. So we're going to go ahead and do add content. We want to make it a graphic. And so now we have that guitar pick here. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with this amplifier. You can do add, and you're going to add the graphic. So now you've got a couple different things in your elements here. So now let's go ahead and go back to our t-shirt. And you'll notice now we've got our library. I can grab those individual elements and basically place them into my shirt. Of course, this one is black and I don't really want black. So let's see if we can make it pink instead. So I'm going to go ahead and instead of being black, let's go make it blue. We'll make it blue. No, I didn't save it. There we go. Now let's do a fill of pink maybe. I'm not going to mess with it too much. Alright, so now I've got my cute little pink guitar pick. Scroll that down. I can go back to my library. Let's grab the words rock on. Of course they're black on black, which doesn't help me. So let's go ahead and grab our selection tool. This is where view outlines would be good. Let's go ahead and bring it over here. Oh, come back. Let's double click it. And let's make it a different color. Now I'm going to go ahead and drag it up over onto my shirt itself. So libraries make it really easy for you to move items from one element to another and create a really consistent look and feel for something. Maybe the last thing I'm going to do is grab this amplifier, bring it in, click and place, bring it down a little bit, and let's go object, arrange, send to back. So we've got those other items in front of it. So now we have made a really ugly t-shirt, but that's okay. It taught you how to use library and how to play with different types of symbols and make it look like you can draw things even though you can't. So make sure to do a file save as and turn that one in.